Welcome to the final week of teaching. This week, we will be exploring what is the future for today's leaders and what challenges does it hold. Now, as leaders or future leaders, let's think about what challenges await us. Is it possible for us to even know? What can we do about it? How can we be prepared? And what happens if we are not prepared? Today's leadership environment is defined by constant, multi-layered change. We're seeing technological disruption at an unprecedented pace. Technology isn't just evolving, it's accelerating. Automation and AI are reshaping tasks and decision-making. Remote and hybrid work are now standard. Data volumes are exploding, and our dependence on digital systems increases vulnerability to cyber threats. Emerging technologies like AR, VR, and IoT are blurring the boundaries between physical and digital worlds, requiring leaders to stay agile, innovative, and continually upskill their teams. At the same time, economic volatility is becoming the norm. Global disruptions, geopolitical tensions, and unexpected events can shift markets overnight. Investor confidence, consumer behaviour, and policy changes around trade, taxation, and regulation all contribute to an unpredictable economic landscape that demands strategic foresight and adaptability. We're also working with an evolving workforce. Multiple generations bring different expectations and work styles. Diversity across identities and abilities is increasing, and employees now prioritise work-life balance, flexibility, and meaningful work. The rise of the gig economy adds another layer as more roles become freelance or project-based. Leaders must create inclusive, engaging environments that meet a wide range of needs. Finally, we operate in a world of constant flux. Globalization means events in one region can quickly impact another. Social and political changes continue to shape regulations, values, and organizational legitimacy. Meanwhile, customer expectations are rising. They want personalized experiences, instant responses, and organizations that stay attuned to their needs. Overall, the leadership landscape is more dynamic and interconnected than ever, and success depends on a leader's ability to anticipate change, respond quickly, and guide their organization through complexity. To navigate today's complex leadership environment, leaders need to adopt a set of intentional, future-focused practices. First, fostering a culture of learning and innovation is essential. Leaders should encourage curiosity, experimentation, and continuous development so that teams are equipped to respond to rapid change. Second, it's important to lead with authenticity and transparency. When leaders communicate openly and act consistently with their values, they build trust, especially during periods of uncertainty or disruption. Third, strong communication and collaboration must be prioritized. With dispersed teams and diverse work styles, leaders need to facilitate open dialogue, reinforce shared goals, and create spaces where constructive discussion can flourish. Fourth, leaders should embrace an adaptive approach, as highlighted by Nordhaus and 22. This means remaining flexible, reading the environment, adjusting strategies, and empowering individuals to solve challenges as they arise. And finally, effective leadership today requires being comfortable with uncertainty. Instead of waiting for perfect information, leaders must make informed decisions, stay resilient, and guide their teams through ambiguity with confidence. Trust has become the bedrock of effective leadership and organizational success. In today's environment, trust isn't a nice-to-have, it's a strategic asset. Widespread scandals, misinformation, and declining confidence in institutions have created a global trust deficit, making it harder for leaders to earn and maintain credibility. Social media amplifies this challenge. Negative experiences spread instantly and can damage a brand within hours. When trust is present, everything changes. Employees become more engaged, collaborative, and aligned with organizational goals. Teams communicate more openly, decisions are made more effectively, and high-trust organizations consistently outperform others in innovation, customer loyalty, and financial results. This is why ethical decision-making is so essential. Acting ethically, especially when it's difficult, protects an organization's reputation and signals a commitment to long-term value rather than short-term gain. Ethical leadership fosters a positive culture where employees feel respected, safe to innovate, and confident that the organization contributes positively to society. In a world where consumers care deeply about values, ethical organizations also enjoy a competitive advantage. Transparency further strengthens trust. Being open about practices, decisions, and changes builds customer loyalty, enhances organizational reputation, and encourages innovation by promoting the free flow of ideas and feedback. Transparency also helps organizations navigate periods of change by ensuring stakeholders feel informed and involved. Finally, trust depends on accountability. In a complex, fast-moving world, accountability provides clarity. Clarity around expectations, roles, and responsibilities. For leaders, this means setting clear goals, taking ownership of both successes and failures, providing continuous feedback, and modeling accountability across the organization. When accountability is embedded in the culture, people feel fairness, stay motivated, and consistently perform at their best. Together, trust, ethics, transparency, and accountability form the core pillars of leadership credibility and the foundations of sustainable organizational success. Trust is now the defining currency of leadership. It's no longer optional. Trust directly shapes employee engagement, customer loyalty, innovation, and organizational performance. But we're operating in a world where trust has been eroded by misinformation, public scandals, and a general loss of faith in institutions. Social media intensifies this, allowing negative experiences to spread instantly and damage credibility fast. When leaders succeed in building trust, the impact is transformative. People communicate more openly, collaborate more effectively, and align themselves more fully with organizational goals. High-trust environments simply perform better. A key part of building that trust is ethical decision-making. Acting ethically, even when it's difficult, signals a commitment to long-term integrity rather than short-term wins. Ethical leadership creates a culture where people feel respected, valued, and safe to innovate. It also strengthens brand reputation at a time when consumers increasingly expect organizations to act responsibly. Transparency is another critical pillar. Being open about decisions, changes, and organizational practices helps build customer loyalty and protects reputational strength. It also encourages internal innovation by enabling honest feedback and the free exchange of ideas. During times of change, transparency helps bring people along by keeping them informed and involved. Finally, trust requires accountability. In a complex, fast-moving environment, accountability ensures clarity. Clarity of goals, roles, and expectations. Accountable leaders own their decisions, provide meaningful feedback, and set the tone for a culture where everyone takes responsibility for their contributions. When accountability is embedded in the organisation, people feel fairness and are motivated to perform at their best. Together, trust, ethics, transparency, and accountability form the essential foundation of credible leadership and the basis for long-term, sustainable success. Today's workforce is operating under unprecedented pressure. Technology has created an always-on culture where the boundaries between work and personal life are increasingly blurred. Many employees feel they must be constantly available and respond immediately, which makes true downtime difficult. At the same time, organisational changes such as downsizing and restructuring often mean fewer people doing more work. This intensifies stress and increases the risk of burnout. We're also seeing the rise of presenteeism, employees feeling compelled to work long hours or come in even when they're unwell. While it may look like commitment, it actually damages productivity and harms long-term health. These pressures have real consequences. Chronic stress, poor work-life balance, and relentless workload expectations are contributing to rising levels of anxiety, depression, and burnout across many sectors. For leaders, this isn't just a well-being issue, it's a strategic one. Burned-out employees are less engaged, less productive, and far more likely to leave, which disrupts teams and increases recruitment costs. Overworked teams also struggle to innovate. Creativity requires mental space, and that space disappears under excessive pressure. And finally, organisations that fail to protect employee well-being risk damaging their reputation. In contrast, companies that prioritise healthy working environments become more attractive to top talent and earn greater loyalty from their employees. In short, supporting well-being is no longer optional. It's fundamental to organisational performance, innovation, and long-term success. To effectively address the growing pressures on today's workforce, leaders must take a proactive and compassionate approach to employee well-being. It begins with promoting a culture of well-being, showing genuine concern for employees' physical and mental health, creating an environment where people feel respected and supported, and encouraging a healthy balance between work and personal life. Flexible arrangements, reasonable workloads, and opportunities for rest all play a crucial role. A key part of this is leading with empathy and compassion. Leaders need to truly listen, to understand what employees are experiencing, and to offer support when challenges arise. That means active listening, taking the employee's perspective, and being a source of emotional encouragement when people are under pressure. Another important solution is to embrace flexible work practices. This includes remote working options where practical, flexible scheduling, and generous leave policies that allow employees the time they need for rest, recovery, and family commitments. Leaders should also help set and reinforce healthy boundaries. Employees need clarity around work hours, communication expectations, and response times. Encouraging people to take their breaks and use their annual leave is vital, and leaders must model these behaviours themselves if they want their teams to follow. Supporting well-being also means promoting healthy habits. This might involve offering wellness programs, providing access to fitness opportunities, making healthy food options available, and raising awareness of mental health resources and stress management tools. Finally, effective well-being strategies require ongoing evaluation. Leaders should regularly assess and adapt by gathering feedback through surveys, monitoring key indicators like engagement or absenteeism, and continuously refining policies so they remain relevant and effective. Together, these practices help create a workplace where employees can thrive and where organizational performance is strengthened as a result. Trust is now the defining currency of leadership. It's no longer optional. Trust directly shapes employee engagement, customer loyalty, innovation, and organizational performance. But we're operating in a world where trust has been eroded by misinformation, public scandals, and a general loss of faith in institutions. Social media intensifies this, allowing negative experiences to spread instantly and damage credibility fast. When leaders succeed in building trust, the impact is transformative. People communicate more openly, collaborate more effectively, and align themselves more fully with organizational goals. High-trust environments simply perform better. A key part of building that trust is ethical decision-making. Acting ethically, even when it's difficult, signals a commitment to long-term integrity rather than short-term wins. Ethical leadership creates a culture where people feel respected, valued, and safe to innovate. It also strengthens brand reputation at a time when consumers increasingly expect organizations to act responsibly. Transparency is another critical pillar. Being open about decisions, changes, and organizational practices helps build customer loyalty and protects reputational strength. It also encourages internal innovation by enabling honest feedback and the free exchange of ideas. During times of change, transparency helps bring people along by keeping them informed and involved. Finally, trust requires accountability. In a complex, fast-moving environment, accountability ensures clarity. Clarity of goals, roles, and expectations. Accountable leaders own their decisions, provide meaningful feedback, and set the tone for a culture where everyone takes responsibility for their contributions. When accountability is embedded in the organization, people feel fairness and are motivated to perform at their best. Together, trust, ethics, transparency, and accountability form the essential foundation of credible leadership and the basis for long-term, sustainable success. Cultural intelligence, or CQ, is becoming an essential capability for modern leaders operating in an increasingly global and diverse environment. It begins with cultural awareness, understanding your own biases, assumptions, and cultural lens, while also learning about the norms, values, and practices of others. This requires curiosity, openness, and a willingness to engage meaningfully with people from different backgrounds. Once leaders develop this awareness, they must practice cultural sensitivity. This means adapting how they communicate, lead, and make decisions based on the cultural context. Non-verbal cues, language differences, and cultural expectations all shape how messages are received, so leaders need to remain attentive and responsive. A key component of CQ is openness to difference. Leaders who embrace diverse perspectives enrich their organizations with new ideas, new ways of thinking, and more innovative solutions. This openness naturally supports adaptability, allowing leaders to adjust their communication styles, leadership behaviors, or decision-making processes depending on the cultural environment they're working in. CQ also requires a strong cross-cultural mindset, where communication and collaboration are prioritized. Leaders must build inclusive spaces where individuals from different cultures feel valued, heard, and able to contribute fully. Effective cross-cultural communication not only strengthens teamwork, but also helps prevent and resolve misunderstandings. Finally, leaders with high CQ act with a sense of global citizenship. They consider the broader implications of their decisions, promote social responsibility, and understand their place within a highly interconnected world. This perspective allows them to analyze global trends, anticipate change, and design strategies that respond to the complexities of a global landscape. In essence, cultural intelligence equips leaders to work effectively across cultures, with awareness, sensitivity, Workplaces today often include 4 generations, each with distinct values, communication styles, and expectations. Baby boomers, born 1946 to 1964, tend to value hard work, loyalty, and face-to-face communication. And they often have a more traditional view of hierarchy and authority. Generation X, born 1965 to 1980, are independent, resourceful, and adaptable, prioritizing work-life balance and sometimes approaching authority with skepticism. Millennials, born 1981 to 1996, are generally tech-savvy, collaborative, and achievement-oriented, seeking purpose-driven work, frequent feedback, and flexibility. Generation Z, born 1997 to 2012, are true digital natives, comfortable with technology and social media, and highly value diversity, social responsibility, and mental well-being. These generational differences affect communication, collaboration, work styles, expectations, and motivation. Leaders must also be aware of technology gaps and potential stereotypes, as varying familiarity with technology and assumptions about each generation can create misunderstandings or hinder teamwork. By understanding these differences, leaders can better engage employees, reduce conflict, and support effective collaboration across generations. Effective leadership across generations requires creating a shared vision that resonates with employees of all ages, emphasizing common goals and values that unite the team. Leaders should inspire and motivate using a variety of communication styles and techniques that engage each generation. It's important to clarify career paths and remove obstacles by understanding different motivations, providing development opportunities, and supporting employees in achieving their goals. Motivational approaches should be tailored, recognizing that baby boomers may value recognition and loyalty, while millennials may prioritize work-life balance and purpose. Leaders must also value differences, appreciating the unique perspectives and contributions of each generation, and encouraging cross-generational collaboration and mentorship. Finally, challenging stereotypes and avoiding assumptions based on age fosters an inclusive environment where all voices are heard and The landscape of remote work is constantly evolving, particularly with the rise of hybrid models and the adoption of new technologies that change how teams collaborate and communicate. Research shows that context matters. The effectiveness of remote work and leadership strategies can vary greatly depending on factors such as industry, organizational culture, team structure, and the specific roles of employees. Despite the increasing reliance on technology, the human element remains essential. Leaders must prioritize building strong relationships, fostering trust, and creating a sense of community even when teams are physically dispersed. By balancing technological tools with personal connection, leaders can ensure that employees feel supported, engaged, and motivated, regardless. The first major challenge is simply identifying future leadership needs. The landscape is changing rapidly, which means the skills and competencies required of leaders continue to evolve in unpredictable ways. We also operate in an environment defined by uncertainty and volatility, making it difficult to anticipate the specific issues future leaders will confront. On top of this, leadership needs vary widely across industries, organizations, and cultures. That diversity means we can't rely on a one-size-fits-all approach. Development strategies have to remain flexible and sensitive to different contexts. Once these needs are recognized, the next step is developing the essential skills and qualities leaders will require. High on this list is adaptability. Leaders must be able to navigate ambiguity, respond to emerging challenges, and approach change with a growth mindset. They also need strong, complex problem-solving skills, the ability to analyze multifaceted situations, identify root causes, and create innovative solutions. Emotional intelligence is equally critical. Leaders must be capable of building relationships, managing conflict, and inspiring their teams, which means developing self-awareness, empathy, and social skills. And importantly, future leaders need a strong ethical foundation. With rising expectations for transparency and responsibility, leaders must demonstrate integrity, accountability, and a genuine commitment to ethical practice. The third challenge is creating development programs that are effective. Traditional leadership programs can be disengaging or overly theoretical, so ensuring learning is interactive, relevant, and stimulating is essential. Content must reflect real-world challenges and emerging trends so that it resonates with participants. At the same time, evaluating the impact of these programs remains difficult. Without clear metrics and robust evaluation methods, it's hard to determine whether development efforts are truly achieving their goals. We must also confront organizational barriers. Resistance to change is common. Many organizations are hesitant to adopt new development approaches or invest in long-term leadership planning. Resource limitations, whether time, funding, or expertise, can also restrict capability-building efforts. Additionally, siloed thinking often prevents organizations from implementing holistic leadership strategies. When development is confined to individual departments or functions, it becomes fragmented instead of strategic. Finally, there are individual challenges that affect leadership development. Time constraints are a significant issue. Leaders are often busy and struggle to prioritize development activities. Motivation and engagement can also vary. Not everyone is immediately enthusiastic about participating in programs or applying new skills. And personal biases and blind spots can hinder growth. Overcoming these requires honest self-reflection, constructive feedback, and a willingness to examine one's own assumptions. Together, these challenges highlight the complexity of developing future-ready leaders. Addressing them requires thoughtful design, organizational commitment, and a focus on meaningful, continuous learning. In addition to organizational and developmental challenges, future-ready leadership also requires a strong personal commitment from the leaders themselves. One of the most important behaviors is staying informed. Leaders need to remain aware of current events, industry trends, technological developments, and broader social and political shifts. This ongoing awareness helps them make timely, relevant decisions and anticipate emerging challenges. Another essential practice is seeking feedback. Actively asking for input from mentors, peers, and team members allows leaders to better understand their strengths and identify areas for improvement. Feedback becomes a powerful tool for growth when it's welcomed consistently and acted upon thoughtfully. Future-focused leaders must also be comfortable experimenting and taking calculated risks. Innovation rarely happens within comfort zones, so leaders need to be willing to try new approaches, learn from mistakes, and adapt quickly. This mindset builds resilience and fosters continuous improvement. A key part of this development is building self-awareness. By reflecting on their own strengths, weaknesses, and potential biases, leaders can make more grounded decisions and become more effective in how they engage with others. Self-awareness strengthens emotional intelligence and supports ethical, responsible leadership. Ultimately, all of these behaviours depend on a commitment to lifelong learning. Leaders must maintain a genuine curiosity, keep up to date with new leadership research and best practices, and continually refine their skills. By combining reflection, feedback, experimentation, and ongoing learning, leaders can remain agile and effective in an ever-changing environment. Thank you for listening to the final lecture of this course. We hope you have enjoyed it. As always, please take a moment to complete your reflection. And if you have any